Good evening, everyone. Well, Crew 11 returns to Earth. We still don't know who the medical emergency is for. Think Orbital raises a seed round. Orbital Robotics plans to build robot arms run by AI. What could possibly go wrong? The Pentagon plans to invest $1 billion in the L3 Harris rocket motor business, which should be interesting. SpaceX, meanwhile, swept another round of Space Force deals, commercial deals. And Japanese commercial firms, we find, are actually driving government policy these days. A commercial recoverable makes its first test flight in China. Watch out for them. A view of how space is becoming more and more an industrial economy. The SpaceX IPO could actually take the nicheness out of the entire sector. Axiom shows plans for their own private space station. Blackstone looks at investment perspectives for 2026. And the big topic tonight, the Q4 of 2025 Space IQ report, plus a special tribute to the late Scott Adams. From the news desk at the Center for Space Commerce and Finance, my name is Thomas Andrew Olson, and this is The Unknown Quantity. And as you know, this program is brought to you by the Center for Space Commerce and Finance. And what do? Of course, you know. We champion and strengthen emerging space startups and space-adjacent enterprises worldwide through advisory, access, and advocacy. Pitch events and world-class boot camps and more to come fortify startups to be better investor-ready. Now, a lot of our work, especially the podcast, is supported by our listeners and fans like you. Remember, the Center is a 501c3 nonprofit, so just go to our website, cscf.space/support, click that donate button, and drop a little something in the tip jar. Thanks so much for all your help. Now, my longest space friend, Michael Lane, is here with us. Come on in, ma'am.
Hey, how's things?
That halo is a little more over your head now. This is better.
It's my pending enlightenment. I think
there you go. Okay, right.
I offered to close the curtain. What's that?
You polishing the totem pole outside in your yard? Okay.
Right. Good. I offered to close the curtain, and you're like, it doesn't make a difference. So I'm just keeping the halo because
okay, that's cool. That's what it works for me.
Cherubic. So
how you doing otherwise? What's going on?
Good. Hectic week. We kind of we had some big stuff happening this week. Our new website's still not working, so that's on me. But it was actually an intent, like it was an error. But then once I realized the error, I was like really happy that I made the changes and didn't post the new website. But that countdown clock is still ticking. It's been a week, and we've gotten a week's worth of work. So I'm happy about that.
All right, that's cool. That's cool.
Big down select for our ribbon. That's what we're working on right now. So,
okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I spent my time the day. The last couple of days, I've been working hard on the ISDC business track.
Yeah, right on.
We're reaching out to a bunch of people, and a lot of good folks are coming in. I've gotten a couple of interesting applications from people I've never seen before, but they look great.
Cool.
And it's like, yes, Michael, I want that. I want that. I want that one. And so I've got the thing about more than a third of the way full. Technically, at half-hour intervals, we've got technically 12 slots.
Oh, terrific. Okay.
If we did a panel, that would be 2 slots.
Yeah, right.
That's how you kind of put it together. But I don't plan a panel right now unless somebody insists we do one, and we don't have to make that decision until like April.
Right.
And so I've invited a lot of people who've been on the panels before, but they want to do their own presentation. Come on back, people like that. And so I'm getting some interesting folks coming in. I understand some enterprising guy that building a lunar elevator might want to present.
Well, I was actually about to ask that. I don't know if I'm about to throw our friend Joe Luttrell under a bus, but what I'd like to do. So quick question: what are the dates for ISDC?
Okay, it's 4 through 7
Of May.
June 4 through 7.
June. Okay, great.
June.
Okay,
and
great.
we're going to have and our track is all day Friday, June 5th.
Okay,
from 10 to 6.
So here's what we got. I didn't talk about this last week, but we have a satellite going up, and it's supposed to go up in May. Although neither Joe nor I think it's going to go up in May. We both think it's going to go up in August. But we have a super tiny, it's called a pocket cube. So it's even smaller than a CubeSat. It's 5 by 10 by 15. Hey, Wes. Hey, Maury. It's a 5 by 15 by 10 centimeter satellite. And it's supposed to launch in May, but I think it's going to be August. And what I'd like to do is have Joe Luttrell and I duel on stage with you, right?
Okay.
The pair of us, where I talk about what we're doing and why string tests matter. And he talks about his rideshare capabilities and his material sciences testing. So that's how I want. That's what I want to do for ISTC.
Good. Okay, we'll make that happen.
Great.
Okay. Now we're going to go to the news, but just before we do that, I invite you all here for a special purpose, and I hope you're prepared. I know you're all invited here not just to see the show tonight, but also to pay tribute to someone tonight whose works have inspired millions to make things, do something, or do better, whatever it is you're already doing. Scott Adams, the creator of Dilbert, who just lost his battle with prostate cancer a few days ago at the age of 68. And in honor of his life, I'd like to do something that Scott always did to begin his famous podcast, Coffee with Scott Adams, and that is called the simultaneous sip. That's why I asked you all to bring your favorite beverage. And so here we go. And it starts out with a little ditty. You're here for the simultaneous sip, okay? So all you need is a cup or a mug or a glass, a tankard, chalice, or stein, a canteen, jug, or flask, a vessel of any kind. Fill it with your favorite liquid. I like Jameson. And please join me now for the unparalleled pleasure, this dopamine hit of the day, the thing that makes everything better, the simultaneous sip.
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, that is the good stuff. And as I said before the show, it's the first time I've actually had a drink on duty. And
right?
So
yeah.
We won't do that very often.
No, that's 1 in 70. 1 in 70 shows.
Yep.
So I think we're okay.
Yeah. That's it. I wanted to say that's the sip. Rest in peace, Scott. You did good. You have nothing to worry about. So let's jump into news, man. Here's what we got.
Yeah.
What do we got? Well, the first thing is obviously the Crew 11 Dragon returns to Earth. And the important thing is, to me, all of it, because we've had, for a week now, we've had 20 stories a day about this in every feed. Right. And of course, now that it's come down, we got 20 stories today saying that, they're down. They're down. Back off the San Diego coast.
Nothing to say what's actually happening.
Yep. But now we've narrowed it down to 4 people. Zena Cardman, Mike Fink, Kamiya Yui, and the Russian cosmonaut Oleg Platonov. One of those people is not feeling very good.
Right.
But they still won't tell us which one it is or what they have. But I thought it felt good that they got through the reentry process and they weren't,
Yeah, it didn't make anything worse. At least not that we know of. Not that we know
that's
of.
Good.
Yep. Yeah.
I'd sure the hell like to know what who it was and what's going on. So one of these days, maybe by ISDC they'll decide to tell us.
Somebody on LinkedIn made a really good point. We as the public demand personal private information about everybody in sports because people are making, bets and they're invested and they're psychologically connected to these people. And we expect that kind of information from those public figures. Why is it that these public figures are not allowed to share? Who's making that decision?
Yeah,
I respect privacy as a guy who's been
an interesting point. Yes, because I know Rich Pornell on one of the feeds the other day mentioned it's probably HIPAA.
Yeah, it is.
Probably HIPAA regulation.
Right, probably is. That doesn't stop it if you're in the Super Bowl and a contender, people want to know if you sprained your ankle, right? They want to know that stuff. So,
and they find out real quick.
They do, right? So,
and I would also make that argument since the ISS is not a medical facility technically,
right?
Does HIPAA apply? And and also the idea that, look, these guys are technically public employees doing a very dangerous job, and we, the tax-paying citizens who pay them to do this and take these risks, we ought to, know what's going on. I think, but that's the Minority Report.
We depend. It does not matter which president you're talking about. The public demands to know the status of the president, and we get those answers. I don't entirely feel like this privacy is completely justified. I also have some very snarky ideas because, what's the one thing that NASA would never admit is, did somebody have sex in space? They will not admit that. That's one of their taboo topics. And
I got to tell you something. People have been having sex in space for quite a while now. Back to the days of the mirror,
right?
Especially the mirror. I won't mention any names, but there are people who know things, and you hear stories, and so there's stuff going on.
Yeah.
Just like drinking. People have been drinking up there. They've been taking vodka up there to orbit for years. Vodka, cigarettes, and German pornography is what I heard. These are the Russian guys.
Oh,
okay. And I don't know what the thing is about German pornography. It has to be German, and I don't know I don't know who cigarettes are getting.
Right.
But, that's been happening for years.
Yeah. So our resident MD is asking, do we know the cause of return for Crew 11? As I understand it, is a virus. Well, sir, Dr. Plata, you know more about this than we do then. So if you can cite your source, we would really like to know that.
And what kind of a virus, and where could they have picked it up in that, enclosed environment? Because if that guy is the only person who has it and no one else does, because the rest of the crew stayed up there. These 4 came down. A new crew's going up, very soon now, and they're not afraid that they're going to get this.
Yeah.
So I'd be, curious about that.
Yeah. I'm confused by this, but at the end of the day, it's really nice to know that they can do a rescue if they need it. There's been questions about how fast, if we needed to get, say it was a burst appendicitis, right? They're certainly not equipped to do that work up there.
Right.
Can they get folks down fast enough for something like that? So more than anything, what this has done is raised a lot of questions about A, the privacy question, and B, the capabilities question. How fast can we react if we need to?
Well, it might be faster in a case like that of a burst appendix. You have you send up Dr. Plata and me.
Okay.
I know how to do an emergency appendectomy. I learned how to do this, and but I'm not an MD, so you got to have Dr. Plata, to.
What's the story? How do you know how to do an appendicitis?
Because I used to work in the OR.
How have I known
I
you for
passed
25
tools, and
years and don't
I
know
helped with
you can do
stitching.
that?
I did all sorts of things. My degree's in biology. I learned anatomy by working. I did 300 autopsies one year as part of that. I did
Dude,
that
I've
for a living.
known you 25 years and I've never
I know.
heard that.
There's all sorts of shit you don't know
We
about
need
me.
to have more drinks. That's
That's what it is. And now I'm trying to get my blues guitar licks back. So just you wait. This is all new facets of me are coming out now because I have nothing to lose anymore.
All right. Let's move on.
Moving on, man. Moving on. We got all night. It's a news night, so we got lots of stuff.
Yeah.
There's this company I barely know about it. It's called Think Orbital, and they actually raised a seed funding to advance X-ray space inspection, and it's tied to demonstrations to space domain awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, they have to. You have to register to get the rest of the article, but they. The least I know is it's for space construction when the military is looking for new ways to monitor. So I really don't know where the backing is coming from for these guys. But I thought it was just interesting to note there is a new player up there now, and that I really haven't heard of. So again,
it doesn't entirely surprise me. So I don't know anything about these folks at all. But Scout Aerospace out of Washington, D.C., they got some funding to go do visual inspections. And so it kind of does make sense to use the other technology of X-rays. So I'm going to think it's in something like that, but I don't know. Nope.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And here's something coming up. Here's something from your neck of the woods.
Yep. I love Alan Boyle. I've had lots of conversations with him.
I have too. He's a cool guy. But Orbital Robotics, which is in Puyallup, I got the pronunciation right.
That's right.
I used to live there. So they're building robotic arms that use AI. They've raised about 310 grand in funding so far. But they're working on it, but Aaron Borger said he's working on a stealthy space venture and an orbital rendezvous project for the Space Force, with a series of missions scheduled in the next year and a half. So, and they're also trying to get traction for something that would get the aging Hubble a boost.
That's very cool.
That would be wild. Yeah. Absolutely. But these are a bunch of guys that are they're spin-off veterans of Blue Origin.
Makes sense.
Just like you got spin-off guys from SpaceX and forming their own companies, I guess.
Yep.
People at Blue Origin are doing the same thing.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. I haven't met these folks. I keep thinking they're familiar, but I haven't run into them, despite, the community that we live in. So, I keep wondering about them. Look, Canada and the Canada arm have been this, icon in the industry for their capabilities. We don't actually have that capability in the US to build an inchworm or so I'm actually super excited that they have that they're building this capability, because I think we've been missing it, and I think there's a market for it. So kind of excited about this.
Well, of course, they want to run it from AI, and they said there's always been troubles with that AI, doing anything, but they think they can do it better. So that was hence my comment. Well, what could possibly go wrong? It's being AI. Go wrong?
Right?
Yeah, you hear C-3PO's voice going, ah, just spinning around.
For sure.
Because it is that thing in space, equal and opposite reactions. So you're moving that arm out there, the spacecraft's going the other way, technically.
Yeah.
So how do you fix that?
And I got a love affair with the Hubble, so whatever it takes to make that thing better. I don't think they talked about it in this article, but Jared Isaacman has been really interested in doing some work with the Hubble, doing a repair mission up there. So they might get some traction that way too.
Well, we'll see if they can. I don't know if they can improve the original optics or not, because I think we've got at least one thing up there. No, I don't know if it's not the Webb, it's the other one. It has something like 50 times better resolution than the Hubble.
Yeah.
So you're not going to make that kind of improvement.
No.
But they did aim it at like Uranus just a little while ago. They got some of the clearest imagery of Uranus and a couple of its moons that we've ever had.
Yeah.
Even it surpasses even Voyager when it went by.
Yeah. I'm going to reach out to these orbital folks. Sean, maybe we can get them on the show. That would be fun.
That would be absolutely. So here's a fun one. We can talk a bit about this because I know L3 Harris was just going to sell 60% of its rocket motor business. Well, now apparently their biggest suitor is the Pentagon. And $1 billion in the business, and the shares, of course, are just going crazy.
Sure. We are 2 weeks into 2026, and L3 Harris had a almost $1 billion deal last week, and then they have a new, different $1 billion deal this week. So pretty good to be L3 Harris these days.
Yep.
Yeah. That's what I was having this conversation with Sean earlier today. That's the headline, and I get why it's a headline, but the piece that I don't think is really getting enough attention is that this is a government. There's a quote from the article. The Pentagon will have an ownership stake in a company that regularly bids on major defense and other government contracts.
Yep.
We talked about this a couple months ago,
right?
A couple weeks ago, that the administration is taking active roles. Now, this is the third one that I've been tracking. They took a role in two different mining companies.
And Intel,
the big one at Intel, and this is the third one in defense. And so this is a de facto sovereign wealth fund, whether or not it is declared and has a policy behind it or not. I said when the Intel deal happened, this is gonna happen in space, and here we are. Ta-da! I don't think this is the only one. I bet you this happens a couple times this year.
Yep. Well, it could be a couple times a month for the rest of the year. Who knows? The rate they're going, it's just amazing to me. I think we didn't report. I think last year we didn't report our first $1 billion deal until like March.
Yeah.
Here it is. 2 weeks into the new year, we've already got one.
Right.
There's no end in sight.
Yeah. We got a $1 billion deal, and the orbital robotics people had a $300,000 deal. So that's our industry, right? And we are tracking that. We are tracking those numbers.
Absolutely. I know but it's all just boosting up their own defense supplies. They're using their rocket company. They want to get Tomahawk missiles and a bunch of other stuff. They just want to, I guess they want to stabilize their supply chain, and they saw an opportunity. Especially since Department of War is going to get a big boost in its budget here soon, supposedly. We'll see if it flies. It's like, don't they have enough? They already have 15 times the budget of the next biggest defense spender in the world.
It's $1 trillion defense budget, and it just keeps going up.
And this is why we spend $1 trillion a year in interest on the national debt. Shit like this.
Yep. $38 trillion in debt, $240 billion last quarter in interest.
Yeah.
Welcome to America in the 21st century.
My God.
What could we do with 240 billion new dollars available every quarter?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
every
yeah.
quarter to wherever, right? You want to put it in education, you want to put it into medical science, you want to put it into space and the moon, you want to put it into better tractors. I mean, just
Oh, look, 27 years ago, I wanted to do Colony Fund.
right,
That was only 50 billion.
right,
Maximum.
right.
Oh, that's pocket change now. Come on.
Yeah,
We should resurrect that.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Yeah.
All right. Without belaboring the extra money going to the Pentagon, what else we got?
Let's see if we can find a happy place.
Sure.
Well, SpaceX sweeps another round of Space Force's commercial-like launch orders.
Yep.
They just got $739 million to launch 9 missions for the Space Development Agency and the National Reconnaissance Office.
So are we going to just simplify and say that's another $1 billion deal?
Well, it's close. It's
right? It's it's a rounding error at this point. So we're 2 weeks in and we have $3 billion deals in 2 weeks in, right? But
we haven't even gotten to the IPO yet.
No, nope.
Yeah, we'll get there.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not a bad business if you can get a $739 million launch to launch 9 missions for the Space Development Agency and National Reconnaissance Office over the next 3 years.
Over the next 3 years. So basically, it's only $250 million they'll be getting paid this year.
A
deal's a deal.
It's a deal. It's a deal. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Good for them. It's pretty good to be SpaceX these days. I mean, I might have some heartburn around the guy, but I love the company.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I still think of Win. My hometown Blue Origin. They're still my favorite space company, but you got to give it to these guys. You really do.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And so I'm looking at this thing, and I don't know how we can dig into this. You've got this stuff that's going on, and a lot of private sector companies. Well, they had in Japan for years and years. They had, basically a big box kind of policy.
Yeah.
And their basic space law was fundamental legislation for non-governmental activities. But they wanted to expand investment beyond rockets and satellites or basic enabling technologies and a more comprehensive utilization of space. Well, then they had a Space Activities Act in 2021 and a Remote Sensing Act and a Space Resources Act and all these things. But it's really the commercial firms as a result of this are starting to, take the place of the defense industrial behemoths.
Mm-hmm.
And they're struggling for business. But unlike the U.S., even their commercial ecosystem faced much stronger headwinds with a less defined policy environment, and unfriendly business and capital environment, and a smaller domestic market. But that's all changing now in the last few years because of all these different acts.
Yeah.
And the case studies they show is Astroscale. That's one of the largest commercial firms. And they have subsidiaries in 3 different continents, and it's a global leader in servicing and debris removal. Interesting.
Yep.
It was founded in 2013 in Singapore, but then they later headquartered in Japan by Nobu Okada. I think I met him once. I think I met him at IAC in 2024 in Italy. But 2015, 10 years ago, they have a 7.7 million Series A. And they're still just getting contracts and growing right and left. And they got and then they turned around and got a few years ago, they got a 47.5 million contract from the Ministry of Defense.
Yep.
That's so So now they've got a new guideline on a license to operate a spacecraft performing on-orbit servicing just 3 years ago. There's a company called Synspective that does Earth observation.
I've not ever heard of Synspective. We've reported on Astroscale a few times, but Synspective I've never heard of before.
Yeah. They're developing a constellation.
They raised $100 million last year, so good for them, right?
Yep. And so another 600 million of funding spread across among 4 companies. Of course, iSpace, we've talked about them a few times.
Yep.
And then something called Space BD in Japan, Leo Shachu. And so the Kibo, and they have the Kibo utilization strategy for Leo commercialization. So I guess the point of all these examples is showing that the private sector, as opposed to the industrial behemoths, is now starting to drive policy decisions. And which is interesting because I think that's starting to happen here too.
For sure. Yeah. The commercial sector has been influencing and lobbying for more than 10 years. The asteroid act that both Wes and Kamisha talked about Monday, we've been lobbying stuff. Commercial has been lobbying for stuff for a long time, but it is just starting over in Japan. Not to put Morty on the spot, but he just came back from Japan a couple weeks ago, and I bet you he can't. I'm not going to speak for him, but I know that he talked to several folks in Japan about the commercialization efforts of their technology. So, it's a thing. It's happening.
Okay. Yeah. They also cloned our SBIR program.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
They have their own.
We closed ours. Like ours is closed for the time being. There's talk about it restarting, but it's our SBIR program is super competitive, and it is good for our country to have it. So other countries should copy that. It's a good plan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's no people showed up. Hi, Veronica. So I'm sorry you're late too. You missed a simultaneous sip. I think you would have liked it. Anyway, boom. There's we still have 28 minutes. We have lots of stuff we can talk about, and we're going to. So they have an emerging Japan-U.S. commercial space alliance that's now popping up. And their contract, and the Ministry of Defense contracted with Leo Labs to provide situational awareness data. And so the relationship in civil space has embraced its entire potential. And the marquee partnership, of course, has been the ISS. So we'll see how CLD does, to keep that partnership going. But it's a great article, and by learning the lessons of Japan's many successes and challenges, policymakers across the world may learn how to cultivate an adventurous industry, an agile policy ecosystem able to serve national goals. So there you go. I thought that was worth checking out. Now, here is something. This is something, again, and this is from an obscure source, but it's absolutely under the radar. I just caught it a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
And now we already know that the Chinese are trying to develop reusables. They even converted a version of their legacy Long March into a reusable. How do you do that? I don't know. Yeah. But they just designed a actual spacecraft for space tourism to put on top of the reusable, and it just completed a suborbital flight test. And it landed successfully with a parachute recovery system. It was retrieved at their launch center, but it demonstrated reentry deceleration and completed the verification of a recoverable payload module. which you kind of need if you're going to really do it all. So they're pushing hard at private or semi-private, with their government, semi-private reusables and tourism activities. I don't know how it's going to work.
Our producer Sean and I were talking offline. He's putting together a report. There's some pretty interesting stuff happening. We talked the other day about total launches, America, different places in Europe, China. The Bryce came out with their reports just a couple weeks ago, and they kind of showed as like American dominance, uber alles, right? But that's really just one company doing the heavy lifting, no pun intended. And our other 9, contenders are only doing a small fraction of that. Whereas China does not have the one big behemoth, but they have a lot of small players that are all doing their own thing. And when those folks pick up their cadence, there's a path where they can get ahead of us, leapfrog ahead of us, just because they have 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 functional launch companies that are all going to orbit. So I'm watching this very carefully because I don't necessarily think we have the lead that we think we do.
Yeah.
We have 2 that can go orbital and get them recovered. So good job, Blue. But we need more than that. If we're
we do.
Stay in the front. If we're
absolutely. Okay, this I know Sean wants us to get to the point. We've got a few more things, but one thing I can just gloss over really quickly. The next one, it was an opinion piece and was co-authored by Richard Harrison and our own Pete Gerritsen, who we know really well.
Yep.
About space becoming an industrial economy.
Yep.
Now, as opposed to just a government thing. And of course, he talks about, he leads off with JP Morgan announced a $10 billion investment plan, for the next 10 years. But I can't go very far with this because they got a paywall. They're giving me a bad time. But if you have a space news account, we'll give you the link, and you can log in and read the whole thing. It sounds like a really good article, and I wish I could finish it, but I don't want to pay $25 a month or something for that. Because if I paid everybody who wanted to register, I'd be sleeping under a bridge. I swear to God.
Right.
A month to get everybody. I'm thinking of starting a business where we do like the cable TV model, and you get 35 pundit sites for $35 a month. and you get inside access to all of them.
That'd be awesome.
That may have legs. I don't know yet. I'm still researching it. Now, the same thing is here too for me. It's all of a sudden I had all these articles. I was looking right at them just a few days ago. Now all of a sudden they're cutting me off. Maybe you can see this. The next one, I actually wanted to talk about this a little bit because the guy's saying that SpaceX's IPO will make space investment far less niche, which is really, really good because it seems like it's not such a out there market anymore. It's getting closer and closer to like just everyday investing. Okay, yeah, here's the space sector, and here's this sector, and here's that sector, and they're all kind of coming the same. And you're probably the reason you're going to find out why is not just from SpaceX's IPO, but what we're going to talk about a little later, which is the Space IQ report, which shows just how much investment has gone into the sector last year. So moving on again, Axiom. Now, Axiom, also the same thing. Axiom Space details a plan to build a space station. There's probably other places you can find this. I was sent this thing, and now it's cutting me off again. It's the third time now. I
Right.
get the full article, and then all of a sudden it disappears. It's like, come on.
Right. We had this up. This was loaded a few minutes ago.
Yeah, subscription required. No. I'm not going there because it sounded like such a good thing. We'll find it someday and share it with people.
Yeah.
But the last one well, before we go to that, what do you want to say? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, but the last one on my list is just this is the guys, Blackstone.
Yeah.
Sent their 2026 investment perspectives, and they will let you download that PDF for free.
It's a fascinating article. It's like 20 pages deep, so we don't need to go. But there is so much in here. It's not about space, right? That's not what it is. This is who they are as an organization with $1 trillion under management.
Mm-hmm.
13,000 real estate assets. So what they did is they basically took their view of America and built a report. Like, this is what we think is happening here. And it is a fascinating report. They're like, we're not in a bubble. Stop talking like it's a bubble for AI. We've only just scratched the surface. Now, keeping in mind, they have $1 trillion that they are obligated to deploy. So they have a vested interest in saying everything's fine, everything's fine, everything's fine. Because they want to get more money to invest.
Well, sure.
But these guys are really good at what they do. They've been doing it for a long time. So this report, 20-page report, absolutely fascinating. I spent a lot of time on it. Comparisons to the earliest days of the internet, comparisons to the earliest days of railroads. Just one data point. During the dot-com days from 97 to 2000, CapEx as a percent of revenue was 400%. Right now, the big hyperscalers, the 5 big hyperscalers, CapEx as a percent of revenue, 25%. So 16 times what we had at the dot-com. So considering it from perspective of a percentage of their revenue, it's not a bubble. And that's the first number that I've seen that's like verifiably concrete. It's like basically says, don't worry about it. And I don't know if I'm going to regret those words, but that's a number that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. Well, when you got $1 trillion on the line, as you said, that's, but their takeaway, but they didn't put the key takeaway out here. And so there's right now, like, as you say, AI is rewiring the landscape and driving a multi-year CapEx cycle in data centers, power chips, and connectivity, funded largely by cash flows and not debt, surprisingly.
Yeah.
So
crazy.
Growth is resilient but uneven. Cooling inflation is giving central banks room to lower interest rates. So falling borrowing costs is going to make a big difference.
Yeah.
Along with the pent-up demand to transact. And so we may see a lot more deal activity in every sector this year, including our own.
One of the things that Blackstone, from their internal numbers, they're like, look, consumer price index, according to the government, is 2.7. Our internal numbers says it's only 2%.
Right.
That's 7 basis points. That 70 basis points. That makes a big difference, because if the real, actually in the world, interest inflation is that much lower, it gives you room to cut interest rates, and that makes deal flow happen, and that makes capital investment happen. I was pretty surprised by that. But again, bias.
But if that keeps up, that's something huge for the current administration to crow about.
Right.
For the midterms.
Yeah. I was pretty surprised by many things in this document. So
yeah.
And our sliver of space is only a tiny fraction of the US economy, but still, like, we live in that environment. So if this is shaky territory, then we're in really shaky territory. If this is in good territory, we're in good territory. So I was pretty impressed by this. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess now we move on to the big deal of the day, the big topic of today. So this is an all news day. We finally got the 2025 fourth quarter Space IQ report by Space Capital. And again, it is just filled with a ton of incredible data that you just, your head starts spinning trying to absorb it all.
Right.
But let's take what we have left and try to unpack some of it.
Yeah. It's fascinating. Where you want to start with it?
Oh, that's I guess from the beginning. We do have a kind of a just before the executive summary. They have a little intro on some of the major things that they saw this last year.
Mm-hmm.
They said they tracked 17 billion invested across 135 rounds in Q4 alone, bringing the total to a record 55.3 billion. But
I want to stop right there for just one sec.
Okay.
Back in 2018, I was sitting in the chief scientist of Space Force's office in Colorado Springs, and I told him point blank, there's going to be a point when there is more money from the private sector than there is in the whole of the Space Force budget. And he was like, no way, impossible. And I sent him Space Capital's report. And I'm like, this is where we are. So here's where we are now. We are now double all of Space Force's budget.
Mm-hmm.
We are like the private capital for the space sector is double Space Force's budget. It's double NASA's budget almost. Yeah, that's a hell of a lot of money. I never imagined it. Did you?
No, but I see a parallel.
Yeah.
Again, from my 31 years in IT, I go back to the parallel of way back in the 90s. Apple was in a very bad position. And guys like Michael Dell said they should have shut it down to give the money back to the investors. And Steve Jobs used to do that.
Right.
20 years later, roughly, a little more, today, close to today, Apple's market cap was $1 billion higher than Microsoft's and more than double that of Dell.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's all in how you pivot and how you build new things and reinvent yourself.
Yeah.
And so this industry went through that tough time that we lived through when there was just a trickle of money coming in and way too many people, many of whom were idiots, sadly, were looking to grab onto what little trickle was there.
Yeah.
Now it's the opposite, just boatloads of money coming into the industry, and we have to watch out for folks who want to tap into that.
Yeah.
And so but the one thing never changes. You have to have the same sense of discernment now as you did then.
Right.
But it's absolutely great. So let's start looking at this, because the thing is, they said, and I love this. We've always had a bad signal to noise ratio for many, many years, but there's been a structural shift this last year. There's a bifurcation between tourist capital and industrial maturity, and they refer to it as a flight to quality. And so a lot of venture-backed debuts struggled to hold their opening prizes, but those who didn't had a great story to tell. And their conclusion was the easy money is gone. But it's replaced by high conviction capital. flowing into companies that are actually solving hard problems.
Right.
And the beauty of that is, and the three critical developments underscore that, it's no longer a single player game. Blue Origin's in the game now.
Right.
The old guard is consolidating.
I love that. Let's read in that a little bit.
Yes, in Europe, the announcement of Project Bromo, for Bromo Seltzer, maybe, I don't know, an initiative to combine the space businesses of Airbus, Thalassolinia, and Leonardo. It's a tacit admission of defeat for the legacy business model.
Yeah.
They can't compete with agile, vertically integrated commercial players using a cost-plus infrastructure. And that's the final signal that the future belongs to the commercial sector, not the state-backed integrators of the past.
We win. It took us a while, but we won.
Yep. Yeah,
I love that.
And of course, investment in applications hit $30.2 billion this year. And a lot of it was geospatial intelligence and a lot of other things. And so what I thought it was kind of clever what they said. They're witnessing the convergence of space and AI. Because they're doing that, Earth observation is no longer about static imagery. It's about feeding proprietary data sets into world models.
Yeah.
The market has finally realized that you cannot build a model of the world without actually looking at it.
I love their language. Yeah.
And we'll go to the outlook later, but there's so much stuff to unpack here. Yep. 55.3 billion equity investment in 431 companies. 17 billion of that was in Q4 alone. And they're split between what they call infrastructure, distribution, and applications, which you'll see a lot about.
Yeah.
But there also were 91 exits. There were a bunch of exits, but the exits were 90. There were 91 acquisitions last year. 8 IPOs, and the revenue multiple for the IPO is a median of 9.2x. Let that sink in for a minute.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. I did not catch that detail.
Yeah, I just did myself. So there you go.
Huh.
But the biggest winners in terms of value, market value, were of course SpaceX in infrastructure, Sandbox AQ, I've never heard of, from 5 in distribution, and of course in applications it was Waymo.
I'm a little surprised to see Waymo in there. A little bit.
They're the self-driving car guys, right?
Yeah. I've always kind of thought that made Space Capital's numbers a little fluffy because they do include what I consider to be pretty far downstream, secondary and tertiary. SpaceX could not exist. Sorry, what am I saying? Uber could not exist without space assets. Waymo could not exist without space assets. Exactly. But it doesn't really seem like they are space businesses. So I feel like that's a little misleading, but I understand why they do it because again, couldn't exist without it. But
because they want to separate that out. Application. It's just for real world stuff using space assets. So I get it. And of course, there's a lot of pie charts and bar charts, and sometimes you can actually make sense of them quickly. Other times, it's like your eyes glaze over. Like, what am I looking at?
Right.
But so you have to take more time than we have here to let that sink in and dig into it a little bit, and then they start breaking it up into infrastructure, and there's just a ton of stuff. A lot of Project Prometheus had a Series A, $6,200 million, that's $6.2 billion deal. Did we mention that before?
I don't think that's ever even come up. I have not ever heard of Project Prometheus, and I was like, I need to look that up. Yeah.
That's a Jeff Bezos-led venture applying agentic AI to the physical economy with a focus on engineering and manufacturing, and they raised a massive $6.2 billion round.
Wow.
Yeah. Totally off the radar.
Yeah. completely did not follow that at all. Yeah, Sean makes a point about it's a little imbalanced, because the infrastructure side, we've talked about spaceports and a lot of different topics around spaceports and infrastructure. It's not necessarily getting the amount of capital that those follow-on applications are getting, and I feel like that's going to become a problem. That's going to become a bottleneck. Yeah. I particularly am interested in this the emerging industries section, much smaller, but that's kind of where we live, right? The smaller companies that are starting to do some interesting stuff. Lone Star, our friends, Lone Star are on that list. They pulled in 7 million.
Axiom.
Yep. So that's kind of cool to see.
Yeah.
And look, Sean, on page 10, you got stations, lunar, logistics, and industrials. It might be the smallest chart in their in all of their charts, but we made the chart, so pretty happy about that. Yeah. We lunar stuff doesn't usually get on the chart at all, so I'm going to take the win.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. And then of course we get into applications, and we talked about Waymo, but there's always also the specialized hardware and software that utilizes data from space-based access. So you throw Uber in there, and as you said, and Waymo. But there's also these physical intelligence. We just talked about them. They got 600 million. That was the top deal this quarter. Quantum systems, I know them, but the rest of them I really don't know much about.
Yeah, it's so wild. We would go to meetings and conferences, and we would know everybody in the room, right? And now, multi tens and $100 million companies were like, who is that?
Well, you know what, though? I just saw this thing on applications in particular, is that Series C wins the day in 2025.
Yeah.
There were more deals in Series C than anything smaller. And so that just makes their point that this thing is becoming a mature industry.
I'm gonna harken back to the Blackstone report. It used to take 3 to 7 years for a company to go public, and the average age of a company going public the last year was 14 years old. So they do need these giant Series C's, D's, LMNOPs, because they're not going public yet.
Right.
That makes total sense to me.
Yeah. Well, we went through a dry spell. There was hardly any IPOs at all in any industry. Because they added all those extra regulations, and no one knew what to do about it. And I don't know if the regulatory environment is eased up a little bit that makes it worthwhile to do an IPO again, or they're doing the IPOs that are just so damn big you can afford to pay the regulatory tax.
If SpaceX really does a $1.5 trillion IPO, that will be the vanguard. That'll tell people what they can do and what they can't. I'm hoping I don't have to wait till I'm a $1 trillion company before I IPO.
Well,
maybe that's what it is.
You just told us all last week that you could do this for $350 million.
Yep. But that wouldn't make us a $1 trillion company. That would make us a multi. I've got an article I'm pondering writing that says decacorn or nothing, which Like
Okay.
we have to be 10 unicorns in order to succeed.
Wow.
Right? I know, right? Like that's pretty daunting. Anyway, I don't need to get into that a lot of detail, but
that's why, on Monday we went into that so deep about the legal, aspects
yeah,
of you claiming a chunk of L1,
right, yeah, yeah,
as the head terminus for the elevator.
yeah, yeah. That will make us a unicorn, but it will not make us a decacorn. It will not make
Yep.
us $1 trillion in valuation. So
Right. I
yeah,
get it.
right on.
It was interesting though, just as an aside, briefly, because remember when Dallas Beanoff was on here and says, "Well, that elevator, it has to dangle, it can't actually touch the moon, and be rooted there and fastened." Well, we'll have to talk about this after the show. I think I figured out a way around that.
Okay, all right. It's gonna be.
I think it's tricky, but I think it could work and be made mostly with lunar materials. So there you go. Cool. So, what other part of this sends you?
It's 6:00.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it is. I just went to the next page. What is the
You're
next
like,
page?
oh, let's keep going.
The path to exit.
Yes, sorry.
We have the path to exit, and Sean is screaming. Sean's doing the silent scream.
Right.
And we could do a whole lot more with this, but it was a lovely news night, and the time actually went very, very, very fast.
Yeah.
So let me say this. I have my final. Yes. Our guest Monday is Dr. Ajay Kothari, who's back with us to presumably discuss cheaper alternatives to reach the moon, Mars in a shorter amount of time, and maybe make a little money while we're doing it. And so actually for this one, I mentioned that if anyone tonight within reach of my voice, or even after the fact, on Apple or Spotify, if you anyway have a direct line to Jared Isaacman, please send him an invite to this particular show, because I think he should hear this.
I love
As always, 8 p.m. Eastern, from the news desk at the Center for Space Commerce and Finance for Michael Lane and Sean Key, I remain Thomas Andrew Olson. Keep watching the skies.